What's the difference between 1 dash and 2 dashes for command prompt parameters? I was wondering, why is it that some programs requires their command prompt parameters to have 2 dashes in front, whereas some, most, only require 1 dash in front? For example, most programs look like this: relaxer dtttoc_gr.xml_toc_jp.xml. Whereas some programs look like this: smlint valid toc.xml noout. What's the reason that some requires 2 dashes instead of 1? Doesn't it make sense for everyone to stick to one standard, i.e. a single dash will do?
Just do ls help and look at the options, and then it will be clearer. It has nothing to do with parameters at all. Many options have a short form and a long form, and many have one and not the other. And also, regarding parameters, it's simply that in the long form, when they take a parameter, it looks like it's always with an equals. But obviously short ones can take parameters just as much, just they don't use an equals. Here is an extract from ls help, man and NBSB. ls gives equivalent information. Notice how some have a long form without a short form, author, block size, some have a short form without a long form, C, F, G, and some have both a long form and a short form, A/almost all, B/escape.
There is no widespread standard. There's some consistency, for example in new programs, but you need to check each program's documentation. Quoting Wikipedia, emphasis mine. In Unix-like systems, the ASCII -- is commonly used to specify options. The character is usually followed by one or more letters. An argument that is a single -- by itself without any letters usually specifies that a program should handle data coming from the standard input or send data to the standard output. 2 -- characters, dash, are used on some programs to specify long options where more descriptive option names are used. This is a common feature of new software. Usually, hyphens indicate a predefined argument. I think it's used to differentiate them from, for example, file names or other labels you might use as arguments. That's not always the case, though. See below. You'll often find the same argument available both as short and long option, as for example in ls. Some programs use a single hyphen for one character options, and 2 hyphens for multi-character options, but not all. NewFind comes to mind. Some programs have optional hyphens or skip them altogether. tar or bsdps come to mind. Sometimes long options, foo, require arguments, while short options, f, don't, or at least imply a specific default argument. Short options, for example, cut d, can have arguments, while long options, for example, ls all, don't necessarily have them. To set a particular behavior of a program, you sometimes need to use a short option, for others you need to use a long option, and for some you have a choice. On a related note, some programs can handle no whitespace between an option and its argument, while others can't. As I wrote at the beginning, there just is no common behavior or standard. Often you can trace similar behavior to the same library used for argument parsing, but you probably don't want to read the sources to find this out. You really cannot infer one program's argument syntax from another's. If you also consider Windows, it gets even worse. While the Windows command line calls traditionally use /f, at least most of the time, single characters, for options, with column, as the separator between options and their value. See for example here, cross-platform utilities are widespread, such as those you mentioned, and bring along the more common hyphen syntax for arguments, with all the inconsistencies mentioned above.
This is a convention coming from Nix. Double hyphen precedes options when they are written in full, while single hyphen precedes options when they are written in short form. For example, LSOL can be shortened to LSL. As it is seen, not all options have their single letter equivalents, although more used ones usually do. Whether the option takes an argument doesn't really make a difference. It can either take them or not take them, regardless of the way you enter the option. When writing them for one-time usage, it doesn't really matter, but when writing commands, for example in alias files, it is customary to use the full form, purely for the ease of reading for the next person.
Single dash is implemented by the getopt and is POSIX standard function. Double dash in getopt_long and is a new standard. Traditionally, a single dash supplies a single character option like this. A or V etc. but need not be limited to that. For example, wall for GCC turns on all compiler warnings for the GCC compiler command. Double dash arguments tend to be more verbose and often take a supplied parameter like max count equals num. However, version takes no equals. Generally speaking, there are no rules or defined standards around how program arguments should be specified, just a bunch of traditions. However, if the getopt and getopt_long command line parsing functions are used, then the parameters should generally follow the standard as the library functions enforce a certain way of doing it.
Just go to